Got it. Okay, everybody, thank you for your attendance today. On the discussion, this is our weekly Healthmetryx update, and today we will be discussing leveraging AI-enabled breath analysis for firefighters and fire departments. And this is early detection through vital sign monitoring. A little bit about the organizations that are bringing this to you today, and we'll get right started. So, Healthmetryx. Healthmetryx is an exhaled breath data analytics and artificial intelligence company changing the world by democratizing access to breath-based early detection. Our cluster analysis program is a client-approved health data collection program of a voluntary population. This can be any group or demographic that shares a commonality, such as a neighborhood, campus, workplace, etc. Our data sets provide customer groups with limitless applications to understand their health, fitness, lifestyle, and performance. Amongst the most significant opportunity for our cluster analysis programs are early detection and the opportunity to track health data trends to better predict our condition in any environment. Pyroc. I'll let Jadie Miller introduce Pyroc and then give a little discussion about her background.
Thank you, Louis. So it's a privilege to be here again. My name is Jadie Miller. I'm the CEO and founder of Pyroc Technologies. We're working towards developing technologies that optimize the health, function, job performance, and overall career longevity for our firefighters and in future first responders as a whole. Pyroc was born of a particular injury that I succumbed about 7 years ago. And during that injury, I had no answers. I had no understanding as to what I was going through. I had no one to help me, and I had to really navigate the health system on my own. And sort of at the end of it, working with Dr. Christopher Free, Pyroc has coined a term, firefighter syndrome. And it's basically a collection of job-specific things that cause an injury to a firefighter over the course of their career. And so Pyroc was born, and our sole purpose is to combat the issues around firefighter syndrome and develop technologies and ways to establish healthy baselines, mitigate issues, and initiate early active and treatment plans to help firefighters so they can continue to serve the civilians that they are sworn to protect.
And Pyroc will be leveraging the cluster analysis program within firefighting departments, and we'll talk more about that. Jadie, provide a little bit of your illustrious background in your career.
Well, I've been a firefighter for over 16 years. Fire departments are divided into several different organizational structures, from paid volunteers to all the way up to full-time professional. And I have had the privilege to work at all organizational structures and have a deep understanding of each structure. Over the course of 16 years, I've worked for 3 different fire departments, in which I've also had a grand privilege of serving directly to fire chiefs and working alongside firefighters, given a holistic approach as to what are some of the challenges and the successes of each level of the organization. In Ontario, certifications for higher level of curriculum and policy development is actually quite rare. So I took the initiative to go into the United States and acquire that certification on my own time, and the department supported me on that. Brought that back to Ontario, and for about 2 years, worked within the department to serve 5 different operational branches that did different things within a fire service, but they have to integrate their services. And so I was privileged enough to interact with all of them to create a unified standard for operations. So the domino effect was real. So I became a mitigator and a internal influence on what those relationships look like. So I served that for about, like I say, 2 years. But realized that sort of my calling and passion was on the back of the fire truck, serving the civilians. But I use that knowledge and I implement that into Pyroc and its goals for optimizing health and performance for firefighters. So for those of you that don't know, let me take a few moments and introduce you to the fire service as a whole. There are about 1.3, almost 1.4 million firefighters spread across just over 30,000 fire departments across North America. They respond to approximately 242 911 calls a year. To put that into perspective, in 2019, that was about 215 million 911 calls. So they're going up about 10 million emergencies per year. When I take that information and I apply it to Canadian population, Canada is seeing a deficit of over 30,000 firefighters per year. And a bulk of that is due to physical and mental health injuries, suicides. Firefighters are not able to keep up with the increasing demand of the 911 calls, increasing 10 million per year. And that's scary because the firefighters play an incredibly vital and critical role in the infrastructure for our society to keep our society safe. And the safety is compromised every single day that they face difficult times. What's exciting for me is that this presentation, I hope, will emphasize the importance of how I perceive and how Louis perceives how the AI can be leveraged through the Healthmetryx. And it's going to be able to improve the health and the performance of the firefighters, which trickles down to the fire departments, which then even more so trickles down to the civilians themselves, the people on this call. So I'm excited about this part. So we'll talk a little bit about the occupational health risks for firefighters. When you think about firefighters as a whole, media, medical doctors, they sort of hang their hat on this term called PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. There is no other option for a firefighter to sort of take a knee and recover. It's Pyroc's mission, and we're doing very well so far within Ontario to adopt a new framework created by Dr. Christopher Free, which is the firefighter syndrome. And in this particular injury, at the end of the day, impacts every system of our entire bodies, from sort of a cell and molecular, our behavioral, our social psychology, and how we interact and how we protect our civilians or don't protect our civilians. And these are compounded when you start to add heat-related injuries or toxins exposure specifically. And at the end of the day, what this does is this leaves these risks, these injuries, they leave empty seats on the fire truck. If you could follow me on a journey for a moment, I'm not sure if anybody here has ever had the need to call 911 before, but if you haven't, take a moment and think about someone that you love or something that you love, and the process of going to the phone, picking it up, dialing 911 and calling for help, saying, I need to not lose this incredibly important thing to me right now. And 100% of your trust and value is put on the first responders that are going to come to your doorstep and say, how can I protect you? Imagine, if you will, that thing that you love, that you're calling for help for, when the first responder arrives to the doorstep of your emergency and they look at you and they say, your emergency is insignificant to me. You mean nothing to me, and I don't care about whether or not the thing that you love or the person that you love is no longer here. That's my story. That's what happened to me. And it's not okay. Leaving empty seats, whether it's psychologically or physically, on a fire truck is unacceptable. So having this real-time monitoring and automated reportings, it's a critical tool that is not only going to impact the health and the quality of life, but it's also going to have the ability to help firefighters perform their duties and protect effectively.
So on this slide right here, we're able to see the importance of respiratory vital sign monitoring. The Healthmetryx system provided through the cluster analysis program provides real-time monitoring and automated reporting of respiratory vital signs. The respiratory monitoring device connects to the Healthmetryx respiratory cloud machine and delivers analytics and automated reports that also collect on 5 different categories of respiratory data, and that's oxygen, carbon dioxide, spirometry data, pulse, and oximeter data. And this allows the system to accurately monitor vital signs for early detection of health risks and to ensure the overall well-being of firefighters. Now, the system is able to leverages deep learning and is able to help analyze breath samples and monitor vital signs accurately. So as you start using the system, you get health descriptive analytics, i.e. what happened. Then you can track your symptoms, and clinicians and medical staff and researchers can dive into the data to help understand what's happening and why it happened. And then as the system collects more data, you get predictive health analytics of understanding what will happen. And that's based off of individual and population health trends and pattern recognition. And then lastly, leveraging generative AI, we can start to understand and identify anomalies and develop risk-based recommendations and personalize care plans that are based off of all the data in the system from the collection of that, from firefighters and through fire departments.
So I'm just going to quickly back up onto what, you don't have to go back, Louis, but I think what's really powerful about this particular device is that it's personalized. My particular journey was I was sort of scurried down the same tunnel as every other firefighter. When we spoke about PTSD, that's the injury of first responders. And so when I would walk in and ask for help, it wasn't a personalized plan. It was, where are the boxes that you need to check that all the other firefighters, they themselves have checked. So you must be a part of that journey. And what's impressive to me and critical to me is that this becomes an individual tool for a specific individual to be seen as an individual. And that is where true health and true activation of empowering not only the firefighters, but the fire departments can be born. When we look at how Healthmetryx and the AI-enabled respiratory kind of cloud benefits are going to, in our perspective, they provide value for 3 different levels. The firefighters themselves, which is a no-brainer. It's an early detection respiratory. It's going to say, hey, this isn't right. Something's different here. The other part of this journey is it's going back to that personalized monitoring and intervention. We're gonna monitor you to make sure you're okay, but then when you're not, you now have actionable data to take forward and do something with it. When I faced my journey, it was all subjective. I had no proof. I had to fight and ask for help, and I was often told no, and I had to spend more than $10,000 of my own money in a Canadian born healthcare system where my healthcare is supposed to be provided, because the clinicians kept telling me no. I had to go and kind of circumvent the system and figure out how I was not okay. It's going to improve the enhanced safety for our firefighters. It's going to add that value to it, and allow them the opportunity for a health management program that doesn't exist. And it's going to allow me to retire. It's going to allow my community to retire, because currently we're seeing a decline in the population. And a large part of that decline is due to line of duty deaths, injuries, suicides, things that are unacceptable. So that is the no-brainer component to how this is going to impact firefighters. From a fire department perspective, it's going to provide data-driven decision-making. Fire departments need to validate all of their requests or needs from the municipal taxpayer-based dollars, And in order to achieve help, they have to provide data. If they don't have data, they don't get help. This is an incredible tool that's going to unlock that piece. It's going to optimize resources and budget allocations. If I can see where and how things are happening, then I can reassign allocations of resources and budgets. If I have a population base that's now becoming healthy, I no longer have to pay $320,000 Canadian per year per firefighter to have them off and injured trying to recover. I have a healthy population base that I can proactively help versus wait until they break. We're also going to improve the risk-based response capabilities. If I have firefighters that are actually present on staff and not on disability because of injury, I now am more equipped to respond to the natural and everyday emergencies that my fire department is asking me to respond to. And what's exciting is in 2000, this is kind of sort of bad information. However, in 2020, there was only 499 scientific studies done for firefighters. Well, let's put that into perspective. When our co-founder, Dr. Christopher Free, who is highly specialized in military operations, kind of bounced that number off of what military were being researched, that was over 15,000 per year. So 15,000 for the military and only 500 for firefighters. Well, this is going to help unlock what the heck is going on and provide a platform to provide better research and advancements for the firefighters that are serving in the fire departments. Well, one piece that I'm particularly impacted by, because let's go back to my story, which is I'm standing on the doorstep of someone's emergency and I'm looking at them saying, I don't care about you. So the civilians are incredibly important to me in this process and to the firefighters and the fire departments. Their ability to have enhanced emergency response protection because I'm now present, both physically and psychologically. What's really exciting too is there's also a possibility to think outside the box a little bit here and say that there's an innovative health analytics on scene of an emergency that we as emergency providers can use for our civilians. That is a perspective that allows us to trickle down the use of the technology for adoption, which is incredible. And it also allows us to help the civilians by treatment and mitigation of their particular health injuries and guide direction as to what might be going on faster, providing protection for those people that we love. And the taxpayers' dollars, we get to protect that. In Ontario, Canada spent, like I said, it was $5.6 billion last year in taxpayers' money for fire department allocations. In Ontario, we spent $1.9 billion on the recovery of firefighters because they're off on sick leave. I see this device as having an opportunity to protect those taxpayer dollars, and I find that important as being a taxpayer myself.
So we recently, Healthmetryx recently was endorsed by the government of Ontario, where they said that our cutting edge technologies were poised to revolutionize the healthcare industry and would be a welcome addition to the digital health ecosystem of the province. They also noted that our dedication to artificial intelligence makes us uniquely positioned to be at the forefront of this exciting new field. And with that, we have several different Ontario, Canada use cases that Jadie is about to talk about here. And these are use cases for the cluster analysis program in the firefighting vertical.
Right. Well, when I first met Louis and we kind of kicked around the idea of the technology, I very quickly kind of referenced Pyroc's model, which is we need to be able to onboard firefighters at any time. We need to be able to reach a firefighter no matter where they are in their journey in the development to becoming or are, or what happens when they are and they need help. So when we look at the journey of a firefighter and we look at having the capability of onboarding our particular users at any particular time, we quickly strategized a relationship with 3 rural fire departments, which represent all of those corporate structures that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. We also have a medical clinic or care clinic specific to first responders that will be participating, as well as a training school. So when we look at the journey of a firefighter into becoming, I have to go to school, I have to learn what it takes, then I have to get hired, and then at some point I'm not going to be okay. So that's what the job does to you, even if you try not to. At some point, the toxins, the impacts, the sleepless nights, they get to you. But we now know it, and we call that thing firefighter syndrome. So the clinic is designed to take that holistic approach. So that's why we're partnering with them. If I'm a school, I have to be challenged. I have to know what it's like and how difficult it is to become a firefighter. And the school that we've selected knows how to influence that and how to implement that. And the departments that we've selected have a real care for their firefighters and their civilians. And so their balance between the needs of the civilians and the needs of the firefighters are intact. And so that's why we've selected those particular firefighters, and they are all adopting firefighter syndrome and this particular technology as in the early adoption phase.
And just to close things out here, Healthmetryx is supporting Jadie's efforts with significant strategic partner support. That includes Johnson & Johnson Labs, NVIDIA, that just crossed the $1 trillion mark for their support of the artificial intelligence sector. Amazon Web Services are supporting all of the artificial intelligence applications, and NASA is supporting the project with sensors that can detect chemicals from the breath. And lastly, Future Electronics and Electronic Precepts are providing us with the top of the line sensors that are used in the collection of this data, as well as manufacturing. So with that said, let's stop here and let's open things up for questions. I see that we have John on the line. John, would love to get your thoughts and also learn a little bit more about why you chimed in with us today.
Um, Actually, like I have a question. Is that so? JD. So let's say go back to the time when you were a firefighter. Like, how do you think, like how Healthmetryx like technology can help you, and like in what way?
So specific to one of the main healthcare opportunities, I think, is toxic encephalopathy. One of my particular one of the most impactful pieces for me was I had a very condensed period of my career in where I succumbed to copious amounts of toxicity. And I got to the point where my health injury was mimicking mental health. And I sought medical health treatment, but it was inadequate because it wasn't a mental health injury. But the community, the healthcare community, the firefighting community, the psychology community, they're very linear in their approach. And what this particular AI approach with the breath-based analysis allows us is to integrate it into a holistic approach, being kind of a 360 perspective that not only unlocks sort of the respiratory and the cardiac piece that is part of the body system, but a truly reliable piece of technology that will lead a pathway to unlocking unbiased opinions about all other technologies. We're a very skeptical community, firefighters, and with the reliability, the accurate data, the non-invasive approach that Healthmetryx is taking, there is a huge trust piece that's going to be earned by this community, and even by myself. You know, subjective data is only as good as you can take it. You need that piece of data that says this is what you need to now do with it, but or provide a platform to be given information, but then having the opportunity to do something with that data is what's instrumental. If I had this piece of technology when I was injured, I would have instantly known what to do. That journey took me 7 years to recover. I lost my tribe, my community, my respect, my confidence to serve communities that I was there to so diligently to protect for 10 years before that. I was a very, very dialed in firefighter, and I lost that. I lost my ability to enter into the hot zone and save a civilian, and that's not okay. So this technology very quickly allows us to mitigate that issue, much more than any sort of Whoop or Garmin or Aura or any sort of off-the-shelf technology that's happening right now. This is innovative with actual details and facts that is going to ignite the firefighter community at a large, 100%. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I have a question. First of all, Jadie, thank you for your service. Secondly, how do you and Lewis see this technology? I see it very apropos for firefighters. Do you see it apropos for other verticals and other first responders? How do you see it, the application of the technology being used there as well?
Jadie, I'll let you answer that. Sorry.
She might be frozen.
Oh no, Jadie's frozen. Okay, we are going to wrap things up. It looks like Jadie's frozen, but we are right at the 30-minute mark. So I want to thank everybody for their time. Thank you for coming out today. And if you would like this presentation, please reach out and we can provide that for you as well. With that being the case, thank you again and have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.